we're excited about the challenges every week that the National Football League presents us, and this one's no different.
I'm not looking at their record because you can't. If you do, you're going to get fooled. Like I said, this will definitely be the biggest challenge for us.
Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, big game coming at you. The Steelers are 6-2-1.
There is a focus, there is an intensity, there is an energy.
He's down. Chased out of the pocket. Down he goes. Vince Williams on the scene.
Deep downfield. Oh, what a grab!
Great blocking up front.
It's all about us. When we take the field, we show the world who the best is, and that's us.
Tonight on the Mike Tomlin Show, the Steelers are in sunny Florida to enact revenge on the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. We'll get a preview. Also, David DeCastro gives me the skinny on his line mates, and Ryan Shazier accepts a prestigious award for his remarkable ongoing recovery. All of that and so much more as the Mike Tomlin Show starts right now.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go.
Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of the Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. The Steelers may not be coming off of a bye week, but it sure feels like one. After the blowout against the Panthers, Coach Tomlin decided not to use a bonus day of practice on Monday, an uncharacteristic move to give the players an extended weekend off. The move didn't come as a surprise, though. Offensive lineman Dave DeCastro described Coach as laying out a bone for the team prior to playing the Panthers, and it was an underlying motivation that he said certainly helped. Although Jacksonville is right on the horizon and the Carolina game has set, let's head over to Bob Pompiani, who's with Coach, to find out how Thursday night football went so right for the Steelers.
Missy, thanks very much. Nice, relaxed, a fresh Mike Tomlin here after, that's a lot of days off, Coach. What made you come to the conclusion to do that?
I didn't necessarily take days off. I gave players days off.
Your job never stops.
It was business as usual for me, but the rest was well-deserved for the players, and more than anything, they used it to get refreshed and to come in and kind of put those block of games behind us and get singularly focused on this next challenge, which is Jacksonville.
Well, it was a significant win for the Steelers. Man, what a game. Put up 52 points, and then the Panthers followed with 52. It was an epidemic kind of thing you started. What were you most pleased with that win? And it came systematically almost.
A couple things. I like the way that our defense settled in. It didn't start fluidly for us. They moved the ball down the field and scored. And then I also like our offense's response to that score. To start fast offensively is significant. Obviously, it applies pressure in a lot of ways to your opponent. That was big, but the defense's response to the first drive was equally as important.
I know you like long, time-consuming drives. You keep the ball away from the other team, but you have to like one-play 75-yard drives too.
I just like to score. That's a misnomer if people think that I'm not interested in scoring quickly. I'll score by any means necessary. And the quicker the better.
Why was that play to Juju Smith-Schuster so successful? Why did it work?
Their corner took a pump fake from Ben, and the rest is history, as they say. Juju did an awesome job of finishing it versus Eric Reed, who's a quality safety. But more than anything, it was the way that Ben was able to work their corner with the pump fake, and obviously, if you're able to complete a pump fake in such a manner that allows them to come open like that, the protection has to be really solid. And it was all day, but it was particularly on that play.
Defensively, Cody Sensabaugh kind of seamlessly has taken advantage of his opportunity. Why has he been good there?
He's a veteran player, and his experience shows the moments aren't too big for him. And he's a good above-the-neck player. And we're doing some things schematically that could be challenging to people that aren't as sharp above the neck. So it's an asset of his. He's utilizing it, and it's helping his cause and ours.
Steelers win. They're 6-2-1. As we sit here, they're the number 2 seed in the AFC. I know Coach Tomlin doesn't want to think that way, but we do. We talk about that kind of stuff all the time. When we come back, Missy, we're going to talk about Jacksonville, a team which gave the Steelers 2 losses last year. It's next up, a game you'll see on KDK. So, Missy, we'll talk to Coach Tomlin about that when we come back. Back to you.
Thanks, Bob. That game against the Panthers was also the Steelers' Salute to Service night, where the team honored veterans and those on active duty. And on Veterans Day, the Steelers donated $75,000 to a number of military charities and also $20,000 to Reefs Across America, which will ensure that veterans buried at the National Cemetery of the Alleghenies in Bridgeville, PA, will receive a wreath on National Reefs Across America Day, which happens to be December 15th. Coming up right after the break, I have a conversation with right guard Dave DeCastro. Now, in terms of the O-line, I know you guys are close. You do Thursday nights together. You're always around the building together. Are you allowed to hang out with other people on the team?
Yeah.
The Steelers' official mobile app brings your game day experience to a whole new level. The app features a new game center full of stats, drive charts, and video highlights. Following the game, watch live press conferences and video interviews. Download the Steelers' official mobile app for free today.
This is going to be a big game. 2 prolific offenses, 2 quarterbacks that can get it done.
Has Juju Smith-Schuster. What a start to the night.
He's back, throws along down the sideline, and the pass is caught, and that's Antonio Brown stepping into the end zone for the Pittsburgh Steelers touchdown.
And that ball was put right on the money by Ben.
And for the 69th time, it's number 7 to number 84 for a touchdown.
He's back, blitz, throws for the end zone. In the back of the end zone, it's caught, touchdown.
Great throw by Ben, and a lot of time by the offensive line.
2nd and goal, pass caught, Jesse James, touchdown.
Little dump off, running for the goal line and diving into the end zone is Jalen Samuels, the rookie from NC State.
You know, we're playing some pretty good football right now, but there's still some stuff out there that we can, maybe more plays we can make.
Although his play on the field between the whistles is violent, starting right guard Dave DeCastro is the Steelers' nominee for the 5th annual Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award. It's presented to a player for his respect for the game, integrity in competition, and fair play. That last one is something that he certainly takes to heart. After watching his quarterback Ben Roethlisberger take a hit to the head from Panthers safety Eric Reed, DeCastro was the first to greet Reed immediately following that play. And of course, it didn't take long for the other linemen to gather around to help avenge their quarterback. It's what linemen do. It's in their DNA to protect the quarterback. Well, this current band of brothers for the Steelers are one of the best, if not the best in the league. And earlier this week, I caught up with DeCastro to talk about his line mates. All right, I know you guys like to do O-line shout-outs to each other when you're in the locker room, so yeah. I want you to give a shout-out. I'm going to go through the starting guys and throw in a few other ones, and I want you to just shout out something that you think when I say their name, okay? All right, Marquise Pouncey.
He's the leader. You know, he's the leader of the O-line. He has been since I've been here.
All right, Marcus Gilbert.
Marcus Gilbert, he's steady and strong. I mean, you know, we don't have to make calls anymore. We just kind of go out there and play.
Ramon Foster.
Ramon's a character, man. He keeps it really light, and he's one of those guys that's just been consistent through his whole career.
Al Villanueva.
Yeah, Al's something else. He's a special character. His life, it's still pretty surreal when you look at it, and I don't think he really appreciates it, and I don't think he ever will, what he's done, and he's a good buddy of mine.
Now, in terms of the O-line, I know you guys are close. You do Thursday nights together. Yep. You're always around the building together. Are you allowed to hang out with other people on the team?
Yeah, no, I think this team's really special. There's not too many cliques. I mean, there's obviously natural cliques, and people have their friend groups, but everyone gets along really well. Everyone can talk to each other, and everyone respects each other, which is, I think, a great dynamic for a team to have.
When you guys play in Baltimore, then 4 days later play a Thursday night game, how hard of a stretch is that just to get your body ready to play football?
Oh, it's extremely difficult, but you know, it's difficult for them too, but it's so out of your routine, and football is, especially me, I'm a creature of habit, the routine, everything, so you're kind of going through the week trying to trick yourself into thinking, you know, Tuesday is a Wednesday and a Thursday, Wednesday is a Friday and Saturday, and you just kind of roll and go. But it's hard for them. They had to travel to us, and that's all just part of it, and everyone's got to do it.
After the win, Coach Tomlin said, "See you guys Wednesday, gave you a nice long weekend." What do you do to try to recoup from that and get ready mentally and physically?
It was awesome. I think he kind of laid that, kind of as he calls it, a bone out there. And he said, we might have a big one for you. And I think the little underlying motivation was extremely helpful. I don't know how much that played a role in the score, but it was definitely beneficial, and guys were excited to get out there and get a win and knew the possibility. So yeah, you just got to reset mentally, physically, get away a little bit, and you get enough time away that you can actually relax a little bit, and then get a chance to get back in routine and go.
Is it fair to say that was the best offensive performance for you guys this year?
Yeah, I think no question. We were playing. It was, like I said, firing all cylinders.
Is there anything you can nitpick at?
There's always stuff you can nitpick at. And that's the beauty of the football game. Even when you play a so-and-so called perfect game, there's always things. Everyone's got things to work on, and so it makes it fun. You always get back to work. I'm sure Munch will have some corrections for us, and on to a big week.
There's plenty more coming up on the Mike Tomlin Show. Do the losses against Jacksonville last season weigh heavy on the players, or do those games even matter at all? Coach gives us some insight about tomorrow's matchup in Jacksonville right after the break.
Heinz Field, baby, let's go.
This fall, we're hosting a few get-togethers at Heinz Field.
Touchdown, Antonio Brown. How did he do that? Here's a big rush, and that is Cam Hayward with yet another.
Come on by and join 68,000 of your closest friends.
Touchdown, Juju Smith-Schuster. The Steelers win the football game, and what a game.
For ticket information, visit Steelers.com. The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber.
Pittsburgh last saw Jacksonville on a cold Sunday in January walk off of the Heinz Field turf victorious and on their way to the AFC Championship. Tomorrow afternoon at TIAA Bank Field, the Steelers will see that same team, but under very different circumstances. The team in black and teal find themselves at 3-6, last in their division, and in desperate need of a win after losing 5 games in a row. Their star running back Leonard Fournette returned to the lineup last week and made an immediate impact. And on the defensive side of the ball, cornerback A.J. Bouye is hoping to return after missing the past 2 weeks. All of the talk coming out of their locker room paints the picture of a big cat being cornered, and they're going to have to claw their way out, and it will start against the Steelers. Let's head back over to Bob and Coach to find out what we can expect.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. It's the Steelers and Jaguars. You'll see that game tomorrow now on KDKA, and we're happy to have that as it was flexed from night today. Coach, you now begin a stretch, 3 games in 4 weeks on the road. How important is this next quarter of the season?
I really hadn't thought about it. That's news to me.
So you really are singularly focused on that next game.
I have a unique talent to get wired in on this one task. I am concerned about this road trip to Jayville. They're a quality bunch. We have recent history with those guys. But any stretch of games, whether you bottle it up as 3 out of 4 road games or things of that nature, we got to be a team on the rise this time of year. As you push into the holidays, you want to be one of those teams. We've done enough to this point to be in the conversation. You want to stay on the road as it gets narrow. And the only way to do that is by winning games. And so good teams, particularly this time of year, they make venue a variable that's irrelevant. So if we're as good as we desire to be, game location needs to matter less the more we play.
Does it matter to your team that this team beat you twice last year? I mean, is that something that becomes coach speak? Is it real?
I think it probably matters to some. To others, it matters very little. Morgan Burnett doesn't care. Edmonds doesn't care, for example. Guys that didn't play significant roles maybe care less. Maybe James Conner cares less. That's just the history. That's always an element of the game of football. To those that share the history, there's some significance, but you got to remember there's elements of the group that'd be more difficult to care less. And so we don't talk a lot about 17. I'm sure they have that same spectrum within their locker room. There's enough to get excited about in terms of variables at play right now and positioning and elements of the matchup as we sit here today.
All right, let's talk about the run game. Leonard Fournette, TJ Yeldon, they have a pretty good run game. Fournette's been out, now back. They gave you problems last year. Why did they give you problems, and what do you do to change it?
Yeah, Fournette is the type of guy whose pile always falls forward, and that allows them to stay on schedule. And when you're on schedule, third down is a different down. They can run it some, they can move the pocket, they can do things that you normally don't see or have to defend on those possession downs, and I really think that that is a recipe for their success. It was a recipe for success for them a week ago, to be quite honest with you. They're in position to win that football game and win it in the manner in which they normally play. They fed that ball to Fournette. They were in manageable third downs. They were driving to win the game, but they turned the ball over. And I think that that's been what's been different for them in 18 as opposed to 17. They did a better job of taking care of the football. There's very little difference between this year's Jacksonville Jaguars team and last year's team other than the -11 turnover ratio. They're not taking care of the ball as well. They still have the most formidable defense, in my opinion, in ball. They're number 1 versus the pass. They're number 3 overall. And they're number 3 overall because teams have been playing with a lead because they're losing the turnover ratio. I think if they slow down the turnovers, it's that same formidable bunch, and that's what we're preparing for.
How pumped up does Antonio Brown get, facing a guy like Jalen Ramsey, for example, these kinds of matchups? Do you see a difference in terms of his excitement, his energy level?
He would say no, because we all know the quality of player that Ramsey is, and it is a significant matchup. But part of what makes AB is he doesn't shrink in the face of any of those things. He welcomes it, but he welcomes an opportunity to put his skills on display every Sunday.
All right, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, big game coming at you. The Steelers are 6-2-1. Try to get to number 7. You'll see it on KDKA TV. We'll have a final word with Coach Mike Tomlin when we come back. Missy, back over to you.
Well, Bob, Antonio Brown has been a touchdown machine this year, and he's 1 away from 70 all time. There's only one Steelers wide receiver who has more touchdowns than Brown, and that's Hines Ward with 85. It's only a matter of time. Coming up next, Ryan Shazier's remarkable continuing journey to recovery from his horrific spinal injury was honored earlier this week.
Everybody can want you to get better, but at the end of the day, it's going to be you in your fight that constantly make you get better every single day.
The league considers rule changes annually. We want to keep the game competitively fair, and we just want to make the game as safe as we can make it. Recently, we expanded the horse collar tackle rule to not only include inside the collar, but outside the collar. Guys were being injured, so we expanded that rule. You talk to the players about why the rule is being changed, but then you also talk to your coaches about how it might change our instruction. The game is evolving, and it's evolving for the better.
Así es. Primera oportunidad, 10 yardas por avanzar. El balón está colocado en la 12 en las Panteras. Newton rolando hacia el lado derecho. El pase que es interceptado y va a haber devolución. Cruza la 10, la 5. ¡Touchdown! ¡Sí, señor! Big Six. Y ahí está el triturador TJ Watt. 2 jugadas le han bastado a Pittsburgh para ponerse adelante ya 13-7.
Earlier this week, Ryan Shazier was presented with the Ed Block Courage Award at the annual Art Rooney Courage House Luncheon, which benefits the Holy Family Institute. The key word there is courage, and Shazier personifies what this award is all about. Since his spinal injury from last December, Shazier has kept an aura of positivity around him at all times, becoming an inspiration to so many, including his teammates. And it was his teammates that voted to have him receive this special award. Coach Mike Tomlin was there as well to deliver a heartfelt introduction for number 50.
Battling through injury and fighting back from injury is in the DNA of these men. It's amazing at times, but not necessarily so to us. We tip our cap to it and keep it moving. And thus has been the case with just about all the honorees that I've had an opportunity to present here over the course of my 12 years. But this one is different. This is amazing, amazing. We are in awe of Ryan Shazier. We're not only in awe of Ryan Shazier, we're in awe of Michelle, his lovely wife. Thank you for being you. Keep on keeping on.
I really thank my family because from the moment I got hurt, they've been there and they haven't batted an eye. Even to this day, it's sometimes I'll be stumbling and the therapist will try to help me. And Michelle, like, let him fall, he gonna get up. Because she knows that, hey, man, at the end of the day, it's only gonna be my fight that's gonna help me constantly get better. Everybody can want you to get better, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be you and your fight that constantly make you get better every single day. Even when I was in the hospital and I could barely move my legs, she would still tell the doctors, hey, he's gonna do it, he can do it. He can put his own shoes on, he can do this by himself. You know, I'm just so thankful for her and just so thankful for how strong she was with me. And I really feel like in football, she helped me become the player I became and even in life. So I just wanna say thank you guys and I really appreciate all of you.
Well, that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Mike Tomlin Show presented by 84 Lumber. Before we say goodnight, let's get some final thoughts from the head coach.
All right, Missy, it was quite a day. Ed Block Courage Award going to Ryan Shazier. Coach, you were there, and boy, it's an amazing story. If anyone deserves it, in the recent decades that I've been covering sports, it's him based on what he's done. How significant was it for him to get this? And let's talk about just his progression and where he is today.
You know, obviously it's a significant recognition, but I don't know that any award can eloquently describe what we've all witnessed in terms of his rehabilitation, his fight, his will on display. It has been not only inspiring to us, but thankfully it's been inspiring to many people all over the world. I think he has a sense of that, and I've just really been equally as impressed with how he wears that and how he utilizes that for good.
You were there, you made a point to come over, and Ryan was back in Cincinnati. That moment when you saw him walk back onto the field after that December situation, what was going through your head?
You know, I just know, just being close to him, I just know that there are thresholds, if you will, in this journey. And going back into that stadium was one. Reporting Latrobe for training camp was one. Walking into Heinz Field the first time for a first home game was one. You know, when you're missing out on what you were born to do, it is difficult. And I think that, you know, those of us that know him well are sensitive to that. And we want to help him in any way that we can in terms of working through some of those difficult moments.
One of the most inspirational stories we've seen in quite some time, and it has many more chapters to go. Coach Mike Tomlin, thanks very much. Good luck. All right, that's going to do it for our show this week, and congrats to Ryan Shazier. What an amazing journey that's been for him, and keep up the great work. That's going to do it for our program. For Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin, I'm Bob Pompiani. We'll see you tomorrow, KDK, at 11:30 a.m. to get you ready for our Steelers and Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll see you next week right here for another edition of the Mike Tomlin Show.